Hello everyone! This video is a special treat for y'all. We've got a recap and discussion of the WBC Agricola Tournament Finals. I'm Lumen, of course. I'm fortunate to be able to moderate this discussion, and with me are all four finalists from that game. First we've got AJ.
Hey.
Then we've got Sid.
Hello.
We've got Andrew.
What's up?
And Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
So these four played in the WBC final, and yeah, overall they just wanted to make a video to recap the game. So Ryan, do you have any thing to add as the inspiration? As I think you were the one who started the effort to round all of us together.
Yeah, thanks. Basically, for the Great Western Trail community, if anybody's aware, Scott a couple of years ago recorded the Great Western Finals at WBC, got some other people to commentate kind of the game specifically and just the overall game strategy a little bit. I think it did a lot to help promote the game and a little bit to promote WBC. So I don't know that I have a super crystallized thought here beyond it's fun to record a bit of these thoughts, and hopefully somebody out there finds it interesting via the WBC avenue or the Get Better at Agricola avenue. Yeah.
Sounds good. And for all the viewers, just a brief outline of where we're going to go with this. First, we're going to have draft discussion, as that's how all Agricola competitive games start. We've got all the draft packs, and we can talk about some key decisions through the draft. And then afterwards, we have a video of the game, and we'll be scrolling through the game, watching it play out in the background as we cover important parts of the game as they unfolded. Did I forget anything, guys?
No.
No, yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. And so I guess we'll just start off then with the first draft pack. WBC drafts occupations first, then pass the occupations right. Then they pass the minor improvements left. And the seating order, AJ was starting player. This is known before the draft, followed by Sid in the 2 seat, Andrew in the 3 seat, and Ryan in the 4 seat. So AJ's pack goes to Ryan in the occupations, Ryan's pack goes to Andrew, Andrew's pack goes to Sid, and Sid's pack goes to AJ. And then that order reverses for the minor improvements. So first off, probably the most interesting pack, AJ's pack. And AJ, when you look at this first pack in the draft from seat 1, what goes into your head as far as the evaluation?
Well, I see 3 first pick level cards: Animal Breeder, Head of the Family, and Reed Collector.
Okay.
I think Animal Breeder is probably the strongest out of the 3, but I personally am a little less experienced with that card compared to other players. It's not in Bloodisha, so I don't have very much practice playing it, so I kind of ruled it out there. Then between Head of the Family and Reed Collector, Reed Collector is really strong, but in first seed I often want to start Reed's own food, so it's slightly also diminished to me, so I ended up going with Head of the Family here. It's great in 4 players since family growth is generally the biggest bottleneck, and yeah, just having that security to be able to grow whenever I want, that's a huge boon to the game plan.
For sure, that makes a lot of sense. And to give more context before we go on, again, this is Draft 7, and it's only the EIK decks, which is a format that viewers of my channel haven't been watching in years, but is still the standard at WBC. Does anyone have any thoughts, anyone else besides AJ have any thoughts on this first pick, Head of the Family versus Animal Breeder or Reed Collector, or any secondary considerations?
I'll speak just slightly. I would agree with AJ's analysis that Animal Breeder in a vacuum is probably the strongest, but I think I also would have picked what he did. Reed Collector means there's more Reed in the game. Animal Breeder, especially the way that we pass cards here, likely means that the player in front of you is going to have more food. If there's more food and more Reed in the game, being able to grow aggressively could be really good.
I'll disagree a little bit. I think I would pick an animal breeder because food is just so vital in EIK Draft 7. An animal breeder should single-handedly solve your food. I think Head of the Family is good, but the grow flips early or in 6. It's not amazing. I think you could pick either card there and be pretty happy, though. They're not very dissimilar in power. It's just, do you want easier growth, or do you want like your food completely solved and all of your animal points?
Yeah, I think Sid's view is where I'm closest aligned. Though, yeah, I can't say for sure which one I would pick in the heat of the moment. Trying to evaluate the importance of seed order in there. I like AJ's thought of wanting to take Reedstone food as the first action of the game, just because there's a chance that players behind you won't have strong Ox that they want to play early, as part of the reasoning. Okay, I think that's a good breakdown of AJ's first pack as he picks Head of the Family. Then we have Sid's pack. Sid, I'm sorry that you did not get the good end of this draft. Any thoughts on your first pick?
I was pretty happy with my first pick. I think Fence Deliveryman, so just, it gives you 8 fences at the cost of forward, or 7 if you don't actually get your fence tempo right.
Yeah.
For 4 food, yeah. And it gives you good fence tempo in that you usually get 4 of the fences just in time to get like a pair of boar, a pair of sheep that start breeding, they can feed you later. So I was reasonably happy with my first pick, and I was passing basically complete trash. Not complete trash, there were like 3 mediocre Ox and Greengrocers, Tenant Farmer, and like half a knock between Surf and Potter maybe. And then just, I mean, they're not exciting, but you can make something of them. Tenant Farmer, I was actually really hoping would wheel, but it's very unlikely with this pack. There's just no reason to take anything else. But it's usually pretty okay to take like a really strong, well, at least a decently strong first pick, and then just pass nothing. So
I agree. So on that end, I guess it's not that bad.
Already seen Fence Deliveryman. My main consideration is I probably want to be building forward rooms if I can, but most importantly, I need some food, because it is a bit food intensive, and EIK Draft 7 tends to be food tight.
Right.
And there's nothing that I see wheeling here, unless Potter somehow wheels, that will feed me. Greengrocer or Potter would maybe feed me, but
yeah.
Or if I find a baking thing for Surf, which
I'm not sure we
like
need to go too much deeper on this one. I think this is a pretty clear-cut Fence Deliveryman, unless anyone disagrees. Doesn't sound like it. So then Andrew is the first pick up next. What are your thoughts on your pack?
Yeah, so I opened the pack, and I'm looking at like 5 pretty good cards, and I'm like, well, that's a good number of good cards. You have Grocer, Manservant, Scholar, and then just I say 5 pretty good cards. Master Shepherd, I wouldn't put in the quality of very good, but the reason that I have that on my radar here is Grocer is by far the best card in this pack, and it's probably the best card in the set. Unless anybody have a better card than Grocer? I don't think
Grocer
there
kind of
is.
depends on the food situation. If there's any food in the game, Grocer is definitely just the best card. I think you would go for Charky in like food tight games.
Oh, sure, Charky, yes. Charky, for people that don't know, charcoal burner, whenever someone plays a cooking
Baking,
or I guess it's a baking symbol. Whenever someone plays a baking symbol, you get a wood in the food, which is also very, very strong in this format.
But point taken, Grocer is really top tier.
Yeah, so Grocer, in this format, we have Draft 7 EIK. Not many crops in the setup, so being able to buy your crops with one action, buy veggies, which help feed you if you have fields and you sow them. And then also Reed tends to be a little tighter in this format as well. It turns out that it wasn't tight at all in this game, but in a lot of games, the Reed that you get from Grocer is also really good. But then there's also like the Scholar Manservant, 2 Stonehouse cards. And I sat there for a while, like, is there any way I could wheel the other? So I take like a Scholar now and I get Manservant 5th pick, but I just don't think, maybe Ryan would or I guess it's Sid. I'm passing to... No, it's
you're passing to
Sid. Yeah, so maybe sometimes Ryan decides to just take a Master Shepherd or like a Meat Seller or something, but it feels very unlikely I get the Manservant back. So I take the Grocer, and then just... I'm planning on just wheeling the Master Shepherd as like a 6-food Ock to help fuel Grocer.
Sounds good. Anyone have other thoughts on Andrew's pack?
Yeah, I would say that Grocer also slightly pushes you towards baking in this set if you find any good baking support, because getting that first grain off an Ock you want to play anyways is quite strong. And you
Okay.
can bake that in the clay oven, and then that feeds the rest of the grocer, and then hopefully you have other baking setup too.
Interesting.
Or-
Okay.
yeah.
All right, and then lastly we have Ryan's first pack. Ryan, you open your pack. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking screw Force Seat, and this pack's not strong enough. But no, I mean slightly more seriously. There's nothing particularly exciting or game defining here. There's several okay cards. Tutor is occasionally okay if you want to play a bunch of occupations, but looking at this pack, I'm not exactly thrilled about whatever I'm getting back. Hobby Farmer is basically just the strongest card here. It gives me a vegetable that I instantly sow, which is a pretty sweet mid-game action. It's just like also not like that crazy good. It just is a moderate boost during the mid-game. But it's definitely what I take here. I look at the rest of this stuff, but like Brushwood Collector is very meh. Like it helps you get out of a reed crunch, but I'm not expecting that. Pastor is pretty bad. You don't really want to be the last person building a room and trying to fit in Pastor, but occasionally it's okay. Buyers are not very good. Sycophant's not very good. Yeah, it's really just a lot of pretty. There's a lot of cards that I will just almost never play, and Hobby Farmer I at least will play.
Yeah, I think that's more or less fine. It's worth noting that Brushwood Collector would let you survive a Reed Buyer game very easily. Did you think there was any chance that Reed Buyer would actually get played by anyone?
I thought it was possible, but I thought it was unlikely. I also thought it was like particularly unlikely that Reed Buyer and Brushwood Collector would disappear before this pack wheeled to me, so I figured I could take one of them if need be to survive such a situation. But Buyers, I don't know. I honestly have not seen a particularly successful Reed Buyer game. It's just hard to make all that purchasing of Reed worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but just wanted to see if you had any, like, secondary thoughts on that little interaction there. Anyone else have thoughts on Ryan's pack?
A terrible pack. It's so bad. Hobby Farmer is so not the first pick you want to be making.
No.
It's just unfortunate.
I think Conjure is a little underrated in the game.
Yeah, I actually agree. I wish I'd taken Conjure out of that pack when it came to me. So.
I think that's a great point, AJ. Actually, I do think I should have. Well, I'm going to take Hobby Farmer here, but I agree. Conjure is actually a meaningful card here for food supplement, grain support. Grain is tight, as Andrew said. So,
All right, let's move on to second packs. And we see them rotate here, thanks to AJ for collating all this info. I guess AJ, second pick, you get Sid's Trash Remains after that first pick out of the family. What are you seeing?
So basically my priorities after drafting Head of the Family is I need help building rooms and I need feeding strategies. The card here that does the feeding the best is the Green Grocer, so I'm pretty happy to get it actually. It's not that bad of a card.
Okay. I think that's fair enough. Any thoughts on the Tenant Farmer?
I think the Tenant Farmer can sometimes be a better card than Greengrocer. I discounted it also a little here because I already passed an Animal Breeder, so I think there's going to be lots of animals this game. But just like overall, for like the long term in the game, consistent feeding, I think the Greengrocer is just stronger for what I want to do.
Sounds good. I don't think anyone here is going to disagree much, if at all, with that. Sid's next. You first picked a Fence Deliveryman, and you're seeing some Stone House stuff and a Bricklayer.
Yeah, not entirely happy to see this pack, although I have like a pick that I usually really like. I'm a big fan of Scholar. I think it just does a lot. Also, for people who mostly play Revised, Scholar can play major improvements in the set too. So it is a decent bit better than Scholar is in Revised, and I think Scholar is already pretty good in Revised. And there's a Manservant, but I can already see in this pack that it's a real, like, I think it's way too big a long shot to wheel Manservant here. I think Andrew just always blocks it if the other box go, because what is left in this pack? I can see someone occasionally needing to take a Meat Seller, because I think it can be a decent food out, so maybe it wheels, but having picked a Fence Deliveryman, I'm not super interested in picking a Bricklayer, because why am I building clay rooms? I'm saving 8 wood on my fences. And I could take a Master Shepherd, but that is extremely unexciting here. And I don't know that I'm basically going to get no food. But spoiler, I'm going to get no food in this draft, so the Master Shepherd would have probably done way more work than the Scholar.
Yeah. Okay.
That's basically it. I just take the best card.
Sounds good. Andrew, you have a first pick Grocer, and you see Brushwood, Reed Buyer, Conjurer, Tutor, Sycophant. Thoughts?
Yeah, so now that I'm looking at it again, I'm maybe supposed to take the Conjurer here. So my thought on... So I ended up drafting Tutor, and the reason I draft Tutor is because I know that I'm going to wheel a playable Ock from my opening pack, and I'm usually expecting to get like a third or fourth pick that's like playable. So I'm thinking that Tutor could be like 3 or 4 points. It really helps you towards those Ock requirements. So like, you know, if I take a Conjurer and decide not to play it, and I'm only going to play 2 Ocks, then I can't play minors that take 3 or 4 Ock requirements. So I landed on Tutor just because, you know, I could wheel the Master Shepherd, I could wheel the Bricklayer. Even like if I do end up wheeling the Manservant, I could just do that for my Grocer food. So I thought that was all fine. But the reason I'm kind of leaning towards Conjurer now is like, as Sid was saying, like baking games can be really good, especially in the set where if you set it up, there's a lot of minor ovens and stuff like that. So I think you can defend either Tutor or Conjurer. I don't necessarily think that Conjurer is the better pick, but I also now that I'm looking at it, think it's much more defensible than I did during the game.
All right. I think that's a good overview. And then Ryan has the most interesting second pick here.
Yeah, so hallelujah, I have real cards, but also I'm terrified because AJ just passed Reed Collector Animal Breeder, meaning he took something better, which is pretty scary because there's not exactly many cards on that list. So all game I'm a little bit concerned about what AJ is going to drop. But anyhow, as we were talking about AJ's first pack, I see an Animal Breeder. I'm mostly taking an Animal Breeder. It basically solves food, it gets you animals, it gives some nice flexibility. On 4th seat, there's a decent number of worlds where I can't easily get room parts in stage 1, but I can set up breeding cows, which like can really set up food for a game. And again, EIK can be food tight, so I take Animal Breeder very happily. Mildest of considerations to Reed Collector, because Reed can also be tight from 4th seat, and there was the Reed Buyer. But at this point, since I see Reed Collector and I passed a Brushwood Collector, I think the chance anybody at this table taking the Reed Buyer and trying to make it work is very low.
Yeah. Okay. And then at this point, were you paying attention to the Mendicant that shows up later in your game?
I mean, I know it's here, and I know I might wheel it. Like, basically, looking at this pack, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get Groom, Mendicant, or Veterinarian here. Like, one of those three. The Patron, the Reed Collector, and the Animal Breeder are all going to go, for sure. But basically, yeah, like, I might get a Mendicant back. I don't know that I really pay attention to it.
Okay. We are taking quite a bit of time on these first 2 picks, I know. We will speed up through the rest of the Ox here, spend a good amount of time on minors 1 and 2, and then try to get into the game pretty soon after that. Third picks, AJ goes with the Bricklayer, which I think is pretty clear-cut here, already having a green Grocer as a potential thing for food. You know, Bricklayer is great for major improvements, among other things. Sid, what did you take out of this?
I took Brushwood Collector because it's reasonable, although I think I should have taken Conjurer as well here. Like, I should have remembered the Juggler in my opening pack, and honestly, Conjurer Juggler isn't complete garbage. It's not great, but it's a much better food out than a lot of the things that are available in this set. Brushwood is there mainly because there is a Reed Buyer, and I haven't seen the Reed Collector yet. And it's sort of a weird out towards not getting enough Reedstone food early, which I want anyways for Scholar, but I might not get. Reedstone food is super contested.
Yeah.
I think Brushwood is a reasonable card here to pick, but I really wish I'd taken Conjurer here. It would have been much better for my game.
Yeah, I mean, you've said plenty of times about wanting more food. And then I think Brushwood just lines up with your idea, like you have plenty of wood saved off of fence deliverment, so it's super defensible. Andrew gets super rewarded for the tutor pick by seeing a patron. That's a pretty clear pick. And then Ryan went with the Potter, I believe.
Yeah, this pack's pretty trash. The Tenant Farmer with Animal Breeders seemed pretty unnecessary. I figured I could maybe play a Potter for Trickles of Food Help. In hindsight, maybe still just take the Tenant Farmer because it's a mid-game food injection. I just eat all the animals I get off of it, and then I get those animals back later, but none of this is really impactful.
I'm going to ask you about the second buyer. Any thoughts on having enough early food and then trying to do some stone buyer shenanigans?
I basically don't believe in buyers, but what were you about to say, Sid?
Oh, I think you really should take a Tenant Farmer here. I'm a big fan of Tenant Farmer Animal Breeder because that food injection just solves the issue of needing the food to buy the cows. Yeah. I don't think in this set you should ever be setting up cows in stage 1. Especially you need to go for pretty aggressive growth with weakish hands that don't score points elsewhere or have auto farming. And buying animals isn't really auto farming. You still need to get the wood and fence. You need to you need extra actions to fence usually. You need to plow manually. Tenant Farmer is just fits so nicely into the pattern of you build your first room, you get some wood for fencing, you're a little bit light on food, you play the Tenant Farmer, eat everything, and then get your Animal Breeder going.
I think that's a good point, yeah.
Yep, I like that point a lot. I did not consider it myself either. Next picks. AJ has some choices but goes with the Pastor. Can you explain Pastor while having Head of the Family?
I'm okay with being last to build since I know I can play Head of the Family to make sure I can get the family growth in. Pastor is pretty efficient, 3 wood, 2 clay, 1 reed, 1 stone, something like that.
Yep.
The actual other card I'm thinking about here is Sycophant. Conjurer is a great card, but with green growth already, I don't want to be going to TP. And Sycophant is a card that could destroy my game pretty badly if it gets played, like Green Grocer specifically. So I am considering taking it kind of to make sure no one else plays it, but it just seems like Pastor has more upside to me. Also, the Conjurer being there also makes it less likely the Sycophant gets played.
Yep, that sounds good. Sid has a Scholar already, so actually goes for the Groom over the much stronger Reed Collector, obviously Brushwood Collector in hand too. Sid's theme of the Oct draft so far to me is that you've just made some decisions and gotten kind of punished for them.
We should probably talk a little bit more about Groom versus Reed Collector. I think this is a little bit of a leak in my game here because I don't play EIK Draft 7 very much. I think in the format that we usually play online, which is different from the revised format most people play, Reed Collector's not that great. And I still think Reed Collector is not that great for me here because I have a Brushwood in hand. Scholar really wants to take Reedstone food to get the Reno. Groom is a pretty good payoff for Scholar in the sense that you get 4 points, and I have the wood saved up to pay for the Groom. The problem here is passing the Reed Collector back to AJ after passing a Bricklayer is pretty bad. And I think Reed Collector should be valued a little bit higher just for the ability to build a BMW in this set, and BMW feeds you really well in this set because there just isn't that much food, and a 3 food per harvest is strong. So I think that was just a mistake, like a straight up mistake. But I don't think it's a huge mistake, but it ends up being pretty painful. So
right,
I don't really regret that decision.
All right, it's Andrew's turn to take from Sid's opening pack here. You go for the Tenant Farmer, which I think we all agree is the strongest overall. Any secondary considerations for maybe a Juggler?
No, I think it's always Tenant Farmer here for the same exact reason why Sid was saying Ryan should have taken it. Just playing a mid-game Tenant Farmer, eating all my animals, and just buying all the grocery stuff was that was just the reason why I took Tenant Farmer. It's so good to just be able to play a card to give you 9 food, and if I lose a point or 2 at the end of the game, that's fine, because the 9 food, well, I guess really, I guess it's 10 food with Patron. I pay food to Ock, I get 2 extra food. I get 10 food and a point, and I maybe lose a point or 2 at the end of the game, but the tempo is just so strong.
Yeah, and Juggler has anti-tempo problems with wanting to play Tutor and Patron first in some order.
Yeah. Yep.
Ryan has choices, not exciting ones.
Correct, they're bad. I don't want an oven, so I don't want meat cellar. I just want a hearth anyhow. Master Shepherd shouldn't really be needed for what I'm doing. I just take the manservant away. I saw a groom. Maybe somebody has a plow driver or scholar. It's not what I want to see, but I just de-draft here, basically.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with de-drafting here.
Master Shepherd gives you some food for the animal breeder too, but I think I'm free. It's fine.
All right, so then AJ
I probably would
made
have taken the Master Shepherd there.
Yeah,
So-
and it turns out I probably should have, because that would have hurt you more, and then you would have taken the manservant, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then 5th picks. AJ wheels the Reed Collector. Sid takes something. What did you take?
I took the stone bar just because I didn't want people messing with the scholar. Now that I have a stonehouse thing, and if I get like a decent miner, like a bookshelf, that becomes really good.
Sure.
But surf might have been fine here too. I mean, I didn't have any baking synergy yet, and juggler I didn't take because I passed a conjurer and I didn't think I was wheeling it. And juggler has to give food to the conjurer, so like that seems terrible.
Right. Andrew took the Master Shepherd for some good food tempo, wanting to play any ox at all. Master Shepherd is the one ox here that is always worth at least a little something. And then, Ryan, what did you take?
I take the Conjure. It actually does some things. I don't have Grain yet. I saw no reason to play Sycophant because I never saw the Greengrocer, so I have no clue anybody's going to do anything on that space all game. So.
Yep. And, yeah, when you have Conjurer, the other two cards here become pretty worthless. Alright. And then second to last picks, which are effectively last picks too, because the last player automatically gets both cards. I'm just gonna, scroll on to the
I will
minors
say
here.
one thing, which is probably worth saying. I'd already identified a Turner out of Andrew's pack as something that I was looking at. One thing I don't like about Fence Deliveryman is it gives you 8 wood, but it means that you're pretty inefficient at wood bullying in the mid game, and I like wood bullying in EIK Draft 7. It can do a lot of good stuff. And so Turner was both like a terrible food out, but like an underrated food out, because it lets you just convert 1 wood to 1 food, and you can just wood bully the rest of the game and try to feed off of that. I've seen AJ do it before, actually. He did it pretty well in like a Botajar game that we played. So I was pretty excited to get that back. I don't think Meat Seller is ever pickable there, so it's not like it's up against anything reasonable.
Okay. And yeah, just a time check for all of you. We're past 25 minutes already, so I'm gonna move us along to the minors here. AJ's opening minor pack to me doesn't have too much exciting stuff. There's a couple okay cards. What are you seeing, AJ?
Basically a whole bunch of blanks with a herb garden in there, which is great for my greengrocer.
Right? Makes enough sense. Sid, what are you seeing in your opening pack? You see 2 plows, not the best ones.
2 plows, an acreage, a fishing rod, and a threshing board, all of which are pickable, but I think in this set, plows are... I mean, I haven't seen any plow support in the Ox, and I think Crooked Plow is perfectly pickable if you have tempo on it. I prefer Crooked to Moldboard, so Crooked is one that gives you 3 plows on plow. Moldboard gives you 2 plows on plow, but twice. So they both give you the same amount of extra plows, but one requires an extra action in place of a wood, basically, that you save. I have wood to spare. Crooked Plow is just a better card because there's enough ways to get like a couple plows in other ways, as you'll see.
Okay.
Acreage is pretty exciting too. I mean, I think if someone has any good green stuff, you can set up a pretty good feeding engine with Acreage. So.
Yeah, I think I agree. Anyone have strong opinion on Moldboard versus Crooked for Sid there?
Crooked's way better. I think that Moldboard's probably the worst plow in the game.
Okay.
Agreed.
It's still a plow, it still does stuff, but Crooked's just far better.
All right. I mean, personally, I don't like Crooked as much as Moldboard because, I don't know, like, I don't really do the one action on plow for the whole game. Doesn't really work for me much. Anyway, Andrew's got the next pick that we'll look at here. This pack is also a little underwhelming, but what are you seeing?
Well, I actually really like this pack. So Cord Chief does a lot. So like we said, I have the Grocer. So like getting a second grain early and just sowing both, and then wheeling Baker's Oven is totally fine. Brushwood Roof can get you out of some sticky situations, but I'm never using that with Grocer because Grocer gives me read, and obviously we talked about all the read passers. Yoke is honestly pretty good too, like because plows are taken very highly. I sat there for a long time debating whether I should have first picked Yoke or not, and it turns out I obviously should have, but I don't know there's going to be 2 other plows in the game. I just land on lumber. I think from the 3 seat, it can be difficult to get wood grabs. You need an early start player, possibly. And being able to start player and just poof have 3 wood and room parts is just disgusting. So I landed on lumber, but I think you could argue for corn sheaf or yoke as well.
I think that makes sense.
That first pick lumber did so much damage to my game. It was so painful.
All right. And then Ryan has the bombs in the miners here with the quarry and the clay pit. You settle on the quarry, but why?
This pack I stared at forever, and I don't really want either clay pit or quarry because I'm not really sure when I'm gonna have 3 or 4 ox out. Honestly, I kind of just want the liquid manure because I think it's actually pretty decent with animal breeder, but it seems crazy to first pick it and pass these other cards. Also, like, I know that I'm passing these to AJ, and AJ has a first pick that I'm very concerned about at this point since he passed me an animal breeder. And passing a quarry is just always very scary. It's a free 2 points. That stone can be very disruptive. I think there's ways that I get 4 ox down this game, and that's a free 2 points to me. So I settle on taking the quarry, partly just based on power reasons, partly because I'm scared of passing it, and partly because I couldn't really figure out what else to justify here. But these were not the miners I wanted.
Any other thoughts from everyone else before I might give a thought or two to this?
Sure. I mean, I think quarry is generally better than clay pit because what are you doing with clay? Why do you need clay? Like, if you have a good plan for using the clay like AJ does and he takes it, that's great. But if you don't, quarry is just a better card. Okay. I don't see how Ryan ever gets a 4 ox in his hand. Like, these socks are so bad.
Well, Potter might want clay pit. Animal breeder might, in weird plays tight games, might help you get your cookery. So
that's a good point, actually.
What I'm thinking about clay pit actually being a viable pick. On the other hand, Ryan's concerns about AJ's first pick are totally defensible. Could have been a perpetual student or an educator, and those with a quarry are just bananas. So
yeah, it's just an unfortunate pack. I don't think Ryan wanted to open this. Basically, that's
no.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like it just has to be liquid manure. Like, I don't... The way I would play this game...
I just have to draft... Yeah, see, I debated that. I debated a long time, Andrew. And I in hindsight, I wish I just took the liquid manure and said, screw it, see if somebody can beat me with a quarry.
It's just so strong in a game, in a set where there's almost no crops. And, like, boom, now I have max crop points for doing almost nothing. Like, am I going to take a first pick that does nothing? Or am I going to do a D-draft? Or, like... I guess if you're playing for a win and you're really scared about AJ at this point, I feel like you just take the card that's just really good for you always.
Yeah, actually, I think I agree with that. That's a pretty good point. I didn't think of that.
Pack 2. AJ, you're looking at clay pit, wood path.
Easy clay pit for me here. Given that I have Bricklayer, the 3 clay is basically a room once I have Reed Collector in play.
Yep. This is just a perfect storm for you. I don't think anyone probably has anything interesting to say about that pick. Sid, to me,
this pack is
you just have a guess.
So trash. I took a bread paddle here, I think, over a guest. I took bread paddle because scholar bread paddle can do interesting things if I see any grain support coming in the miners. Like,
what do you need at this point, though? You need like a grain cart?
Cart scope is probably okay enough. Like, the thing is, I'm already terrified of my food situation here, right? Look at my ox. They cost food, don't give me food. And like, what does guest do for me? Really nothing. I mean, I don't know what guest is doing here for me particularly. And it costs food as well. I just don't have any food. And bread paddle is a shitty but like potential food out. I think the cards are just terrible, so I just pick the thing that has some upside. I don't see guest as having much upside here. So.
Okay. Fair enough, I suppose. Andrew, you're next. You've got moldboard plow, acreage. I don't know what else you might take.
I was considering the threshing board as well because of the baking plan. But I passed the corn sheaf. If I had taken corn sheaf, I could run a really nasty like threshing board like sow 2 grain in stage 1 and then plow bake after playing the clay oven in stage 2 for my feeding plan the whole game. But since I didn't do that, I was just moldboard plow. But I was kind of just crying that I passed yoke. Like yoke is just. I'm now seeing a moldboard plow. I'm just like I could have had a yoke.
Yep. Fair enough. Then Ryan's pick. You're seeing a baker's oven, a brushwood roof, and a high reed game, corn sheaf, yoke. What were your thoughts here?
I think forever about taking a yoke, even though I've seen no plows, and just hoping it pays off, because I feel like I need help at this point. And in hindsight, this is the pick I regret the most, because I definitely should have just taken the yoke, because it turns out it's amazing. But I thought a lot about this, and I definitely just picked wrong. You think long, think wrong. I wind up taking brushwood roof, and it's mostly because I don't have the read help, and I didn't wind up with any of the read help, and so I'm like, maybe I play this, but I should just take the free corn sheaf. I should just take the yoke, but...
Okay. Lots of regrets about yoke is what I'm hearing. And pick 3. AJ, do you have anything interesting about your third pick you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, this pick actually for me is between corn sheaf and baker's oven. I am thinking a lot about my green grocer and how I want to play that. Like corn sheaf can get one extra grain at the start to start baking or something like that. Baker's oven is a like later game bake action, and it's also like an extra like pointer as well on top of the clay oven. So I don't know. I go into the game kind of with a baking strategy in mind, and I go for the baker's oven partly as well because passing the corn sheaf means I expect Sid to take it, and that means it's going to go around, and no one's going to want to play Sycophant in that case.
Right. Okay. I think just the tiniest fun note is that baker's oven is the one oven upgrade out of the 3 in EIK which keeps Meat Cellar on, because baker's oven is an oven while the baker's kitchen and the bakehouse are not ovens. Fun little fact.
Combo.
Wombo combo.
And of course, no respect for Schnapps Distillery because it's a terrible cardio. So,
all right, Sid, you're looking at the hearth miner, liquid manure, outhouse, woodpath.
I took Woodpath here to have an early miner, and then I ended up not playing it because I leaned into Bread Paddle a bit, which I shouldn't have. I think this should just been liquid manure. It's just a very strong card. Like, it's usually just 2 points.
You have no animal support except for the fence delivery men.
Yeah, I mean, liquid manure requires 4 animals. That's not too hard to get. And
well,
I just think it's like
3 is easy for you, but 4 is a lot harder, right?
Yeah, I agree. But if I time the fence delivery men, I can usually have the 4 animals and SP in round 13 for a Plauso. And if you just do that, liquid manure is 2 points, right? It's
sure.
Never less than 2 points, really. So
yeah.
This is a very strong card. I'm okay with picking Woodpath here, though. I think I'm always a bit hesitant because the set is small enough that you might see the clay path come out or the paved road.
Yeah.
But Woodpath is a wood to 2 points. That's pretty good, and I'm still thinking that Scholar might be viable here. And then you just want some miner you can play for value later.
Yeah.
I still think liquid manure is probably better.
Okay. Andrew. Clear watermill, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
You just picked the guest, I assume?
Yeah, 4 blank cards and guest. I'll just take guest. I have enough food.
Well, technically Shepherd's Pipe isn't quite blank with Master Shepherd Tenant Farmer.
It's blank.
It's blank.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And then lastly in the third picks, we've got Ryan.
Yeah, I'm still not really finding anything that makes my animal breeder particularly happy, but I take acreage here. There's maybe a world where I play Conjurer and get 2-ish early grain and then like get grain sown into an acreage during stage 2. I don't think any of the rest of the cards are likely doing anything for my game.
Okay.
There is this, yes, but...
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be tempted to go Potato Dibber with their hobby farmer. If I was playing a clown game, I would definitely be looking forward to getting Manure 7 for Animal Breeder, trying to like hobby farm potato dibber some random garbage, but yeah.
Well, for
I
what
actually
it's
think
worth,
manure
I would
is
manure
justifiable
here.
here.
I would
Yeah, I
manure
think manure's
dibber
pretty good
here.
Pick it
What-
third or just wait for it 7th, Andrew?
No, pick a third.
So I take manure, and what's I mean, I thought about that too, but like, what is that doing?
Well, so if you play the hobby farmer like stage 2 or something, and you're playing animal breeder, you can now like rotate your veggies and get your grain sowing, like because okay, if you're farming this game,
And I have to
you an animal
manually
breeder.
plow.
Well, sure. But
There's
that's
a
what your
lot of
second
actions
are
involved
for.
here.
Rounds 1 and 2 are your second actions are plow. That's what I always do with a hand like this.
Fair enough. I thought about manure, but it feels very slow. There is some sort of a setup there, and maybe it does work, but ugh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't force it, but like round 11 and round round 10, round 12, I think
Yeah.
that's pretty reasonable.
I agree. I think manure is just bad liquid manure for you here, and a bad liquid manure is still pretty decent for you. Like,
But Sid, would you go for it 3rd or wait for it to come 7th?
I don't think it ever wheels out of this pack. Like, I mean, you're hoping someone takes stretching board, I guess.
Yeah, it's not wheeling like.
Really?
Like,
I
Manure's
mean-
not a bad card. People can take it, and I'm very unimpressed by both Dibber and Threshing Board. So, like, I would never pick those two over Manure. I think I'd just take Manure actually over those two cards.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Manure to me is always like really, really low tier in EIK. Its power has never shown up as high. Even when you think it's good, it only hits in round 12 90% of the time. So,
That's often good enough for 2 points if you set it up correctly. I think the big deal is you just have guaranteed animals, right? So you can have tempo and Manure, and that makes a big difference in my opinion.
interesting. Okay. Let's move on to the next pack in the interest of time and lack of too much more to say. AJ, you took the fishing rod here to support a big family game. I think that makes enough sense, but potato dibber I thought also, or threshing board now that you have like more oven parts.
Yeah, I did think about Threshing Board, but Threshing Board's actually worse now with Baker's Oven since I have that bake action.
Yep, it comes with that extra bake.
So I just go with Fishing Rod. I think late game it's probably gonna be used twice for food or something like that. That seems pretty good in a head of family game.
Fair enough, I think. But no, not much thought to dibber when you have a greengrocer.
Not that much.
Okay. Sid ends up with the yoke, right?
The fastest yoke in the world, yeah. Wood to 2 plows.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really sad to see Corn Sheaf here because I would love to pick Corn Sheaf, but you can't not pick a wood for 2 plows. Like, it's just absurd.
Right. Yeah.
So-
Getting 1 cow for the prereq is just really nothing.
It's just trivial, yeah. It's not a thing.
Andrew has the liquid manure now.
That's right. I was pretty happy to see this. Because, you know, I have a tenant farmer and Master Shepherd. The 4 animal requirement shouldn't be an issue. And sowing extra stuff on my fields to get, you know, be able to eat some veggies without losing points and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, my first instinct with grocer is that maybe I wouldn't need it because, you know, sowing twice with the grocer to max crops is fairly easy in some ways, but it definitely turned out to be good for you. And then Ryan's got nothing here. These are like very blank. So
Correct. This draft is not breaking my way, and take a shepherd's pipe, but they're all blank.
Right. AJ now has the ultra blank pack. I don't even care what you take. Sid has manure, potato dibber, threshing board.
Yeah, just take Manure. I have no crop support. This could easily be 2 points if I set it up correctly. That was my plan initially, to sow in stage 3. Didn't happen because the grocer came down and ruined my sow tempo, but
Sure. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there in the game. Andrew, you get the corn sheaf over Schnapp's Distillery. Can you explain why Schnapp's Distillery is bad, even when you have grocer liquid manure? For some of the people out there who might be confused.
If we say that, like, a stone is a point, and we say that a veg is a point, now we can get to those, like, heuristics by, you know, a veg, each veg on the scoring card is worth a point, and then if you look at the major improvements, you know, each stone is roughly equivalent to a point. A stone is a little worse than a point, but then you also get the imps. So I think, like, the rough estimate is generally, like, a stone is worth a point, a veg is worth a point. So you're spending 3 points, and, like, people also call miners half an action because you get star player with it. It's like 3 points and half an action to get 2 points. A crappy way to turn veg into food. Like, it's veg into 4 food instead of
Right.
just plain a hearth. and like you're just not getting enough points. Like, what are the odds that I'm just gonna have 2 extra veggies sitting around? Like, I need food too. It's just, yeah, it costs a lot to give you not much.
Yeah, I actually count a veg as 2 points because you have to put the veg in earlier, and then you can usually sell that veggie for an extra veggie. It's just an atrocious card. There's like almost no. I've never seen a hand that wants to play this card. It's just in EAK.
Oh, never's a stretch.
Gardener games exist.
I've played the card before.
Gardener games exist. Shout out Gardener.
Yeah. Shout out to Gardener.
That's true. Gardener might justify it. It's just such a bad card.
But thanks for that breakdown, Andrew. You take the corn sheaf here. And then Ryan has a fairly clear cooking hearth minor for protection against the major cooking hearths going away, or not enough clay early. Cops and outhouse are both blankish.
Yeah, I mean the outhouse occasionally is useful, but the clay cost is super annoying, and so yeah.
With your clay situation for sure.
AJ has the one card that makes outhouse work.
Yep.
Sorry. I think the big thing about Cooking Hearth, though, is that it allows you to 2-clay Fireplace and still get a hearth without spending a whole other action. Like, Animal Breeder desperately wants a hearth to eat their cows and boars or whatever they're getting.
Right, yeah.
But if you go 2-clay Fireplace, that's really bad. Because then you have to spend a whole other major action playing a hearth, but now you don't have to anymore. You just do it on the start player for your grow.
Right, okay. Then last important pick of the draft for everyone. AJ gets that outhouse, which we all agree is good with a bricklayer. Sid, I don't care what he takes. Andrew, you have Potato Dibber and Threshing Board. What did you end up taking?
I take Dibber. I'm not happy about either of these. At this point, I'm not on these.
Really? With liquid manure, you're going with the Dibber?
Well, yeah, because I can pay 2 wood for a point, or I can pay a wood for some food. It's kind of my idea with Dibber.
Because you're not baking.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not baking. I don't think. I mean, I guess I could, but I have Tenant Farmer, I have Master Shepherd, I have the food tempo from Tenant Farmer. I don't think I need to bake.
Alright, sounds good. And I also don't care what Ryan takes here. Final hands. Any comments? I mean, if we were to rate these hands 1 through 4, would anyone be against saying AJ's is number 1?
No, AJ's is clearly the best.
Yeah. Who do we think has the second best hand?
What do you mean, Andrew? Ryan's hand is terrible, and I think Andrew's is better. He has food.
I'd say Andrew.
I think Andrew's is like clearly second.
Yeah. And then
I think both Sid and I got relatively punished / unlucky in terms of just what showed up. Sid got lucky that the yoke came around. I'm supposed to just have that, but basically
the yoke makes my hand. I agree.
Yeah.
And who do we
Without
think?
that, I think mine's worst.
Who do we think made the least mistakes in this draft, given only the knowledge that they saw during the draft? I know that's a bit of a weird phrasing, but
It's probably AJ. I don't think AJ had a ton of mistakes to give, though. His picks were relatively straightforward.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I was
guess,
as well.
Yeah, I think that's what I would say. I think AJ also, but yeah, exactly. Like, I think his was also, he kind of just kept finding things that he kind of wanted and synergized, whereas, yes, the rest of us hurt a little more on that front. Andrew's draft, I think, came together a little better on that front. Sid and I were both just kind of hoping for some things, and most of the packs did not give us the answers we wanted.
right.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for taking that. It's a lot of time spent on discussing the draft, but it might be the most interesting part of this game, and
I think it is.
Gives color to some of the stuff that happened later.
Like, I'm coming out of this draft basically starving, and I'm terrified almost the entire early game that I'm just going to starve because there's no food there.
Right. All right, so as I have here the names showing up now. Ryan's in top left, AJ's in top right in seat 1, Sid second seat bottom right, Andrew third seat bottom left. AJ opened the Reedstone. Sid took 3 wood into day labor this round. So Sid, can you explain why 3 wood day labor is totally fine in second seat instead of playing free Yak as most people would be tempted to?
So in this set, well, if you look at my hand, what am I playing? Fence Deliveryman? Not super necessary. I don't actually want to get the fences in round 7 either. That might be a a little bit too early. Although I don't think that's the main consideration. It's just I have one Ock to play. I'll play it whenever.
Right.
Like in EIK Draft 7, Ock isn't that contested. And the second aspect is Day Labor is just the best second action, best action on the board. I think, in my opinion, if you're not getting like 2 clay for early sheep. I hate 2 wood, and I have no reason to plow because I have Yoke plus Crooked Plow. That's the other action that's reasonable here. Day Labor is awesome. I'm starving. Day Labor prevents that. It's perfect.
Yep, sounds good. Ryan, as we're seeing here, does some thinking for the expensive Ox space, which gets thrown to him in the 4th seat. You play your animal breeder.
Yeah, I debated a long time. I mean, I don't like seeing sheep here early. I feel like my hand is basically animal breeder and trash, which it mostly is. And so my main hope is that animal breeder's like food help is going to carry me. But with early sheep, I maybe am supposed to play conjurer and lean into acreage. Try to just push hard for first room, get like a sow done during stage 2, then do animal breed things during the mid game. I think hard between both of those lines. Neither of them seem great.
So I have a question for you, Ryan. How far behind do you think you are at this point?
I feel behind.
I
I
think
feel
you
my
feel
hand
that-
is not good out of the draft, and
Yeah,
I
I think you're supposed
don't
to take
feel
2
hopeful in 4th seat.
Yeah, I think you have to pray for early major and you take 2 clay there. It is
Agreed.
much better for your game than playing this. Like, when you only have one viable Ock to play in stage 1, you should almost never open Ock. Because you're going to get that action at some point. It's just going to be like a second action you can eventually get. And getting the first fireplace here is pretty good for your game because it allows you to ignore the animal breeder stuff early, get first room, and actually push for like I think that's your only win con with this hand, right? You grow aggressively.
I think in hindsight you're correct, and I really do just want 2 clay fireplace because of the cooking hearth miner in my hand. Like, there's so many reasons, but it is terrifying taking 2 clay here and just praying that major comes out on an appropriate time. But I think you're right.
That's why I'm asking how far behind you think you are, right? Like, if you think you're in a good position, you don't take that risk. But your position and my position are not great, so we both have to take some risks here.
Yeah,
and
I
think
think
2
you're
clays is the correct risk. I mean, AJ is happy playing a reed collector here. It's not bad for him, but it's probably not as good for him as getting the 2 clay and all of the early animals.
Oh, it's way worse. It's way worse than getting 2 clay and all.
And then the other thing I want to talk about here is Ryan's last action. I think getting past Corn Sheaf, having Conjurer in hand, having an excuse to play a bunch of Ox to get to Quarry. I was a little surprised watching this that you didn't plow and risk trying to get 4 wood.
So there's another reason also.
Getting 4 wood? I'm never getting 4 wood.
But that's not just the reason, right? If you keep 2 wood on the board, there's 6 good actions. So you just generate a good action for yourself by taking plow. I think 2 wood is a terrible action, I personally think.
The problem is we're assuming Ock is a good action for me.
Yeah.
It's not true. Like, that's the problem. That's the whole problem with Draft 7. I mean, to be honest, I actually really hate this format. The more I played it this week, the fact that the Ox and Miners just suck so bad, it just does not make for the game as good as it should be. But anyhow, yes, I guess you're right. I'm supposed to leave 4 wood, and maybe I get it because maybe Andrew just wants RSF, and it's certainly the usually correct tactic, but I'm almost guaranteedly getting Ock back on the wheel, and I don't know that that's actually does shit for me.
But
well,
I think
if you plow, it might. But okay.
I think to Sid's point, I think plow is just a much better action than 2 wood, and you're giving yourself at least the option to be able to get 4 wood, and at least the option to get 2 good actions. Even if you don't want Ock, you still have the ability for 2 people to take Ock in front of you.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think just plow is a better action than 2 wood. You might get 4 wood, but you might buy yourself a Reedstone Food or 2 reed or whatever you wanted, and you might get 2 good actions. So I just think all the things say just take the plow, and if you end up giving me an extra wood, you end up giving me an extra wood.
Yeah.
I also think you're seeing a patron before you, so there's a decent chance Andrew wants plow on the wheel, Ock on the wheel. AJ hasn't played an Ock, and you passed the clay pit, which might be relevant as well if someone's trying to get that out. So there's like a decent chance you get a non-Ock action back. And I think 2 wood's not a blank action, but it's just probably a wood worse than a plow. So
Yep.
All right. Round 2, I don't think has too much stuff that I had notes on.
I think I take start player here. And my hope, I was waiting for Corn Sheaf to get played first because I don't want Corn Sheaf to get played after I SP. And honestly, I had a big hope here that I stay SP for a while and get Reedstone Food actions, which actually worked out. So that was one of the few things that, flipped nicely for me.
So you started with the bread paddle instead of the wood path, and you alluded to this into the draft that it didn't go the way you were expecting. But the bread paddle is reasonable enough if you have scholar dreams, I think.
Yeah.
When I was watching this without hearing your draft thoughts, I was thinking to myself, Sid probably wants to play free fence deliveryman this round, but is taking Reedstone first. Can you just explain why, again, you didn't rush into the fence deliveryman?
Yeah, I mean, there's just not much of a need to rush into fence deliveryman. I do want to play it this round for the timing, but seeing the Ox that have been played so far, I'm not expecting people to rush out Ox too much. And more importantly, you can't turn down Reedstone Food if you have any dreams of playing a Scholar, right? You just will never get Scholar.
Fair.
You need 3 Reedstone Food actions, ideally.
Yeah.
Or Scholar games in EIK just don't work because you don't have the support to, get free stone or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think in round 3, Awk is not often that contested, so worst case I get expensive Awk and pay a food.
Okay.
Not the end of the world.
Gotcha. Then Andrew also had a similar nice read, in my opinion, by not going for 3 wood first action. I think the state of your board says you want 3 wood pretty badly, but you instead take 4 clay first. You do get 3 wood second action. Did you have any thoughts during the game about maybe for sure wanting 3 wood there, Andrew?
Well, so I actually thought that 3 wood wasn't that important here. We see that Ryan already has rune parts, and Sid's extremely close to rune parts. Which means even if so let's say I take 3 wood first action, I'm now at 5 wood, a read. I'm not taking a single read, which means Ryan always has tempo in round 4 to build first room if he wants it. So my thought was, I want 3 wood, but if I don't get it, I don't get it. I take 4 clay. I either force AJ to build a fireplace, or I get the hearth second action, which is very unlikely. But so it's a little annoying to AJ. I'm totally fine just playing another Ock. If I go 4 wood into Grocer, that's fine. I guess the only line that's really good with 3 wood is that I can wheel Ock, play Grocer, and go first room in 4 by buying 2 things off of Grocer. But my food then is kind of bad. I need another food because I'm at 5. I expensive Ock because of the second action, and Sid Ox before me. And even with a patron, I'm still just at 5, and I'd have to pay 2 food. Or is Reed on top?
Reed's on top.
Okay, so it's only 1 food.
I don't remember. I'm confused between revised and...
I think Reed is actually on top.
On Grocer?
My thought was I really need a
yeah.
hearth, and Ryan after me also really needs a hearth, so I just want to get this 4 clay down.
Fair enough.
I really like the hearth move. The hearth is so important for you this game with Tenant Farmer.
And then AJ, I want to talk about your position here a little. You do manage to get the first fireplace with Major flipping in round 3, prioritizing it, I think, fairly clearly after Andrew takes the 4 clay. The decision I'm most interested in about your early game is that you opted to play Greengrocer before Reed Collector. What was your thinking there?
So this is actually a decision that in my recollection of the game, I really am not sure if I played that correct or not. I'm thinking for Reed Collector I can do it a bit later because I'm planning with Bricklayer at this point, plus the Reed at the start. That's going to give me 5 Reed with the Reed Collector now. So I'm thinking a lot about building 2 clay rooms. And in that case, I don't need to build until a bit later in the game. Around round 8 is when I think I'm going to build. So I kind of plan to play Reed Collector around 4. And I'm just thinking, what should I play before that? And I decided to go with the Greengrocer. I didn't have a good action with my second action for round 2, and I wanted to improve that.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I could have just plowed a field there, which I ended up doing in round 3 as well. But I also really am still scared of that Sycophant. And I thought possibly, given how the cards were passed or something, I could also just do a Greengrocer and then hit that spot and try to fully discourage the Sycophant from happening.
Okay.
I actually do wonder, Andrew, if you thought about playing the Sycophant round 2 with your Ock there.
No, I think I always have to play tutor first.
He's
And the
also
issue
already
is-
played Corn Sheaf, so...
Well, so I think the big issue, so I passed the Corn Sheaf, so Ryan now has Corn Sheaf, he plays Corn Sheaf, then I pass it to you, you play Corn Sheaf, and now that you've already got, now you have 2 grain and a veg, you don't have to use the space anymore, and so it just feels like, I mean, maybe I messed with your food a little bit, but you already have the fireplace, you have the first sheep grab, possibly the second sheep grab. Like, it turns out you do have to get the second sheep grab by a really good start player in round 6, but it just feels like it doesn't do enough at this point because of your fireplace and the corn sheep, and that you've already used it once.
Yeah.
I think one thing worth noting, AJ, is that you were not prioritizing wood super heavily in the early game, and it's super contested by the other 3, so it is kind of nice that you're going for this clay room strategy right off the bat, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works well. Yeah.
I'm also very much thinking about my herb garden in hand, and that's something I want to get out, maybe a couple plowed fields, and then the greengrocer action there to set that up.
Okay.
Maybe even the clapper.
I found a very funny thing in watching the replay here.
Yeah, I took beggars. I made sure to show them.
And Andrew's laugh in 0.25 speed, I think, is also really special.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think aside from not getting the first fireplace and the sheep grab, Ryan basically got what he wanted. And once you didn't go for that line, you're pretty much priced into getting these cows going, so...
Right, and let's quickly cover what Ryan did, because this is not on anyone's main line, except for some people do it with Animal Breeder. Ryan, you decided to buy the cows, force yourself into a later mendicant, and decline first room?
Yeah, I did a lot here. I could have built first room in round 4, and I seriously thought about it and wanted to, but it also terrified me because I didn't draft the tenant farmer, because I don't have things in my hand, I also don't have food. So if I build the first room and try to fight for first growth, which is possibly a winning line, I think I mostly starve. I mean, I can try to multiple fence actions if I find the time, if I also get a hearth down, but, like, I don't have any of that set up.
Yeah, that's why I was saying you were priced into it.
Yeah, I basically have to set up food here is what I decided, and I also think that I'm probably just going to wind up growing second most of the time. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but I get to build the next room in 5. I mean, maybe I grow third, I guess, a lot of the time, but, like, yeah, I just felt I had to do the food. I felt like if I tried to just build a room there, I probably just starve too often.
Yeah, okay. And then while we're still on you open 5 clay this round, and then second action you take the fireplace at 3 clay instead of the hearth for 5. I know
this is wrong.
You talked about it in private a little. When I was watching, I was also kind of surprised. Like, you do have the Cooking Hearth Miner, but yeah. Why would Cooking Hearth have been better for you immediately?
Well, it denies a Cooking Hearth to AJ, which is actually mildly useful, though maybe AJ finds a way to just bake and it's fine. Also, I mean, I already have cows, so like I'm sacrificing at least 1, maybe 2 food. It turns out that I actually sacrificed like 3.
Yep.
And also I'm saving a couple clay. The theory is that I'm actually still going to play a potter and push out a quarry during the mid-game with hobby farmer and then mendicant. But that's not I don't have actions. It's not really a good plan. Again, I'd argue my hand doesn't really give me good plans, but I should find something better than that. Yeah. But yeah, I also don't have miners that I want because the draft was so bad, and I'm assuming I'm going to have to start players soon, and so like at least the hearth is a miner I can now play. But I should just build the hearth straight out and SP not it at some point.
Yeah. On the topic of start player, AJ, while watching this, I expected you to start player for 6 wood, and you chose something else. You chose to just take 3 wood, right?
Yeah, I didn't think I could let Sid have 6 wood. He already has it's not showing.
And this is the last point from this round, is that Sid didn't take his freaking room tile. Pissed me off.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was too good for him. I thought about SP, but I don't have way too many that I can play at this point. And if I do that, I'm basically taking 2 actions that take 3 wood. And as you guys have already talked about, I don't care about wood this game pretty much at this point. So I don't want to tie my next first action to taking 3 wood. Yeah, I just decided go ahead, take 3 wood. Another thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that start player did not get taken in round
3 through 5,
4, or round 5, which is incredible in a game of Agricola. Those are generally like some of the most contested start player actions in the game.
Is it though? Like again, our draft was just garbage. Like, what are people supposed to be playing?
Yeah, so this is based off of the draft, really. I had seen the draft I passed nothing that was really playable early except Corn Sheaf. So that was my plan, was to just let the Corn Sheaf be played, take start player, and hope I stay start for a while. Largely because that's the best way I can feed, is just to get the priority on the good food actions. And the good wood actions, I guess, in part also. And it mostly worked because we just didn't pass a lot of miners that were playable early. Like, Andrew has little reason to start, and you have I don't know you have head of the family, but that actually strongly disincentivizes you from starting also, because you don't really need to. So
Yeah. And there's just like no fighting for the growth queue here at all, which is the typical thing in Agricola games.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, AJ, I think to that point, I think the rest of us have played a few more games than you have, and something that our groups tend to do a little more is a little less fighting for grow, a little less start playering early on than maybe you're used to.
Yeah.
I also... go ahead, Ryan.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, admittedly, I probably start player too little, but yeah, I'm kind of infamous for just hating on start player most of the time.
I was going to add to AJ not taking 6 wood here. I think a lot of intermediate players just make a mistake of saying, like, I can go start playing to 6 wood, that's two wood actions, and I get a miner out, that's great. But in stage 2, your actions are pretty inflexible, and, like, you have a lot you want to be doing. Sometimes it's not worth committing 2 of your actions to taking 3 wood each, essentially.
Right.
And I think AJ does the right thing here, just taking 3 wood, keeping his actions flexible, letting the rest of his game develop. I mean, he obviously doesn't want the wood either, so that makes a pretty big difference.
Yes.
But... like, you should not just snap start player to 6 wood. It's not always the correct thing to do.
Yeah. Sid, staying on you as this round 6 ends in the background here. At the start of round 5 ends in the background. At the start of round 6, you make a couple comments at the table. You say that family growth does flip here in round 6. You say, good, I'd be totally dead if family growth is in 7. You do have the first room, so that implies you really can't afford an action to park start player one more round?
It's that, and I just can't afford to be down an action in general because my game is weak. Like, I have some efficiency, but my game overall is weak in terms of feeding. And so if Grow flips in 7, I'm really concerned about how I'm going to feed for the next stage efficiently, and maybe the stage after that. I'm pretty confident once we get to stage 5 and 6, I could probably just build a fireplace and feed because I have fences coming, but before then, it's pretty iffy. And it's hard to overstate how painful it is to lose one action in the mid-game and then just be set back so much tempo on getting all of your feeding set up. So, that was my main concern.
It's not one action, it's 2, right? Because you have to spend an action taking start player.
Yeah, it's 2 actions, sorry.
But then you also don't have that extra action in round 7.
Yeah.
Right, so the difference between growth in 5 and 6 for him is 1 action because he didn't have the start player. But the difference between 6 and 7 is another 2 actions. So the flip there was, instead of, 3 more actions if Grow flipped in 5, he lost 3 actions because it was in 7.
Yeah. Andrew, thank you for taking your room immediately when you go to the space. I really appreciated that.
You've taught me a lot in my Agricola career about organizing my farm and stuff like that. And it's really paying off here.
Yeah. In a final, you don't want to be worried about your farm being in an illegal state, as everyone else had to worry about, apparently.
It sounds like I just get to win this game, right? Since
definitely.
Well, you have to notice and call it out, I guess.
Alright. I found a fun comment here.
I will be amazed if it gets to like a 7-6 tiebreaker. It would be really cool, actually. It would be super cool. Just gotta count for it.
I don't know if you heard that on our call here, but Sid, you say at this timestamp, I'd be amazed if we get to 6th tiebreaker.
I don't think we quite got to the 6th, but yeah, we're pretty close.
I think we did. I'm pretty sure we were 6th.
It ends up being close to that, anyway. The other thing
Sorry.
Go ahead, Sid.
I was just going to say I was very unhappy to see the grocer come down. Because it basically ruined any hope I had of potentially just spending my stage 3 to plow and sow. because Grocer just has like if Andrew gets any food, Grocer just has like infinite sow tempo on me. So it's very unlikely I'll get my sow in, which kind of you didn't, but that's because I took a food action instead of doing my sow stuff.
AJ's start player, that was so brutal right here.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways.
I thought this was a very clear start player for AJ.
Really? I never would have thought that this is a clear start player.
Well,
I mean, it
he's
turns
got
out to be very correct.
I mean, I'm looking at AJ's position. The wood's not exciting. Is that 2 clay on the 2 clay spot? The food's not exciting. You've got an outhouse. I mean, you're still double outhouse eligible here, but it just made so much sense to outhouse, go into Reno, and whatever else you wanted to do next round.
Yeah, so I actually think start player was, I did pretty quickly decide that I wanted to SP. I mean, part of what I'm also weighing here is, do I want to SP for 3 stone to potentially run a well? That is part of what I'm thinking through here, but I mean, I just decide that with Andrew's Grocer, that he is just so scary if he gets that 3 sheep. And I also think about, should I just take 2 sheep here? And it's just not an exciting action to me. I really need to be efficient in my game. And just 2 sheep doesn't last me that long. 3 sheep actually feeds me through both the next harvest, actually. So it is actually also a really good action for me this time, unlike 6 wood not being exciting for me.
Yeah, it was a super move. Also, I think this didn't show up on camera very well, but or I don't think we made a noise, but whenever the Grocer got played, all 3 of us rolled our eyes at Rob, I believe.
Yeah.
Everyone instantly
well, you in particular, Sid, I think, mentioned at the time too of everybody's laying down stronger cards than you saw, and that part's definitely true. I mean, I got past the Animal Breeder, which you don't know at the time, but yeah, you have to fight this game with defense deliverymen against these other top cards.
Yeah, fortunately, I think Yoke was better than all of the Ox in the game almost.
Well, yes.
My other choice here is, do I play the Clay Pit now? I have 3 Ox. I can play it as my Ox, but I just am not excited to be taking day labor actions when I only have 2 family members.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, letting the board juice up. I really want to be taking Clay off the board. And I'm really thinking about round 8, is there any possibility I get 6 Clay? That's kind of a dream for me.
Right. And I think that's just generally fine, too, because you're building at least 2 rooms, and you're going to have enough minor improvement opportunities later. Might as well get the outhouse done now while you're 100% sure it's playable, I think.
Yeah, I had no idea if people are going to play Ox or not.
How much clay does AJ have right now?
It looks like 3
I have 3 right now. I had taken 4, 1 that was spent renovating, and then, so I have 3 now, which with the bricklayer is enough for 1 room.
I guess 4 because you haven't renovated yet in the video part where...
My dad, sorry. Yeah. So I have 4.
Okay.
I guess it's worth pointing out a couple of things that happen here. One, me not taking... So, one, Andrew is forced into BMW, which kind of sucks for him. He doesn't really want to build it here, but it's his best food out at this point.
He needs to after the sheep go, yeah.
Yeah. Secondly, I don't take 3 stone here, which is... I mean, it's sort of a clear sign of me giving up on the stonehouse plan, because I'm building the well no matter what.
You don't take 3 stone here? I thought you took 3 stone here.
No, I took 4 wood first.
4 wood first, okay.
I might have wheeled the stone. You're right. I might have wheeled it, but my intention was not to take... I thought I was giving up on the stone when I took the wood, because I was just going to slam the well at this point. Largely, the whole value of Scholar to my hand was actually getting bake actions. And if I don't sow in stage 3, that doesn't do anything, so I was pretty much giving up on that at this point.
And you gave up on stage 3 sow because Andrew is ahead of you on tempo for it. After playing Grocer.
Yeah, I have to take 2 crop actions into sow, and Andrew just needs to plow once or twice and then sow. So
yeah,
this is very different.
So
I do want to ask Sid, why not 4 clay this round? Because it turns out I think it's pretty clear. We're all sitting here. We see AJ's massive stack of reed. We see his 4 clay. He clearly wants to renovate and build the clay rooms. Why? What was the reason to not 4 clay this round? And because the reason I ask this is the 6 clay gives AJ perfect parts to build 3 rooms, and triple grow on us.
Yeah, thinking about it, I mean the clay just does unfortunately little for my game though, because I'm not renovating anymore. And
after you take stone, it's just a pottery, right? Because now you have 6 stone.
Yeah,
that's not that bad.
What did I take as my 3rd action here? I might have plowed.
That's what I'm looking for, right?
No, I don't think I plow. I had the crooked plow in play, right? Yeah, I did like the idea of getting 3 plows down. I think
Like
that might have been a
if
mistake.
you've given up on a sow in stage 3, what's the rush?
Yeah, it's not actually that important. I
Then you
agree.
also know you have yoke for your other 2 fields. It just feels like 4 clay here is perfect because Major's blocked and like I don't know. It's like
I
this
could
is
see-
the table's way back into the game. You taking 4 clay here because you're the only one that has a free action because you're the only one that's grown.
No, I actually think that was reasonably correct there to take 4 clay. Actually, do I plow here? I'm might have been supposed to take 4 clay over 3 stone even actually. If we'd done this a little bit earlier, I would remember a bit more about what my thought process was here. But I think I may have just auto-piloted into 3 plows because that was in my initial plan for getting so stuff done before I switched off.
Yeah.
But I think it was just correct. Like,
I don't remember exactly, but it wasn't 4 clay. It might have been reedstone, but I think it was plow that you did here.
yeah, I think
Well,
it
I
was
know it's
plow
not 4
here.
clay.
It's definitely not 4
Because
clay. AJ got 6.
here,
Yeah.
which is
I was
the
also
third
just
game.
realizing who was star player because I knew AJ took taken star player, but it hadn't fully registered, and I plowed. Yeah, no, this is a mistake. I think.
This plow hurts to watch because I just think it has to be 4 clay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has to be 4 clay here.
Did either Andrew or Sid consider 4 food this round, like Andrew instead of the BMW, or Sid as the last action there?
I was praying for 5.
I don't think that I can. I don't
I think
think
I'm
I
too
can
far
ever
behind. I think
justify 4 food.
Like 4 food doesn't feed me next harvest either because the fence delivery win. Whereas if I build the well and to get 5 food, that does feed me. So that was definitely like part of the consideration.
And I think
And I
in
just-
Andrew's position, he wants 5 BMW conversions this game instead of 4. But
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
At
I
this
think
point-
you're right. 4 clay was definitely a good play there. I mean, I think with the day labor stuff, it might not have mattered too much, but it was definitely important. And I think giving AJ 6 clay there was definitely a mistake.
yeah. The other note I have from round 7, it's not to rub in, but just to emphasize a point to everyone else how the fireplace versus cooking hearth decision went for Ryan. It's at the end of round 7 where it's already a 3 food difference.
Yep.
Okay, the rest of like the mid game, I'm really short on notes. So if anyone has thoughts about any specific decisions that happened here, that would be good to share.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a lot
I
of
mentioned
like plowing and taking wood and just like taking huge stacks of stuff if there were. Like, was there anything
I
important
mentioned-
that happened here?
Yes.
Yes,
there's
I
one.
mentioned this in the draft, but my whole plan was to wood bully at this point, which seemed doable because people were a little bit light on wood, and AJ had no wood, and he was in the best position. So even if AJ doesn't care about building wood for rooms, he does care a little bit about getting his fences sorted out eventually. And well, that lumber got played, and yeah, that was not fun.
I was in like round 10 though, I think. Or
It
no,
wasn't
it's in-
here.
it's
Here,
next round.
I don't
It's-
actually
it's
remember.
It's in 9. It's in 9 because I
It's in
SP'd
9.
it.
You
I
SP'd in 9
SP'd
defense and
and
10,
then
I
take
think.
more. No,
Yeah.
I SP'd at 9 defense and 9 and then take more than 10.
Yep.
Ryan,
Which
what
also
were your
denied me
thoughts?
the.
You sounded like you were gonna say something.
I'm just I'm with you. Basically, I feel slightly behind, but I agree. I can tell Sid's kind of wood bullying. I'm growing 3rd. I have fences. I have wood. I see AJ has no wood. My thought at this point in the game is once AJ got 6 clay 3 reed here, he's in a very good position, and I'm like the only way he's gonna lose the game at this point is basically wood pressure. Because he has enough food, he's gonna have enough actions. Nobody else is entering the growth queue right now also, so like even though AJ's growing last, which normally is kind of an issue, he's gonna triple build, and it looks like he's just gonna probably grow 3 times in a row, because all of us are going farming, which is totally reasonable, but it's just like breaking well for him. And so I agree. My theory is like maybe slight wood bullying is gonna at least keep me competitive here. But then yeah, I agree. The lumber I think is the big story at the mid game. The lumber getting passed to me is actually what pushes me to build a 4th room out of wood. Because I now have enough wood, I don't really know what else to do besides push for a 4th family member. I have okay food, I don't have much else to do. But playing a 4th room means I'm going to pass the lumber, but I basically can't wood bully enough anymore either. I don't feel like, realize just 1 lumber is maybe not a good enough reason, but that was the tough juncture for me. Is I wasn't sure what to do, but I was like, fine, I'll build a wood room, jump in the growth queue for free. But
I mean, you're definitely the correct person to jump in the queue because Andrew and I both have feeding issues. You're the one with your food is mostly set. It's not like completely solved, but it's not remotely terrible. So I think it was correct for you to jump in, and the lumber definitely gives you license to do that. And that's your main out towards winning. You do seem very far behind at this point, though, which is concerning.
Yeah, I mean, in Ryan's stage 3, it didn't play out as I expected. I would not have made the call to jump. It took 2 reedstone actions, partially, to get there, and Ryan, you had 4 wood sitting on your farm this whole stage and didn't activate Animal Breeder for pigs, even though you did get to grow hearth. So I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I agree. Like, look, I thought hard about just fencing. That was the original plan, and maybe I'm supposed to still just do that, but it doesn't feel winning. Admittedly, nothing feels winning. I've made a few mistakes early. My hand out of the draft was bad, and I think I probably am already lost at this point in basically every which way. It feels like growing is probably the only path to doing better than last.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're just too far behind to not try and push for a room there.
Yeah. Other thing that happened in stage 3, Sid got 2 5-food bottom feeding grabs.
So
big boost for your game.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I've been talking a lot, I was worried about starving, and 2 5-food grabs was just the best actions on the board, and I got both of them, so
yeah.
For me.
AJ's now catching up on actions nicely, grew with the clay pit last round in round 9, as the video I sped up to round 10 here. And then Andrew did something slightly unexpected on first glance to me by fencing and not sowing in stage 2. Obviously, the motivation is to get some breeding pairs coming in. You played the Master Shepherd. And then what I didn't fully realize until I looked at your draft again is that you're just going for a 1-sow game here with liquid manure.
Yeah. I was heavily debating, stage 3 sow. Stage 3 sow is really good because if you sow a grain and a veg, they both come off, you fully harvest both of them, so that in round 14 you can sow again.
Yep, this is straight from
that you can
School of
all the fields.
Yeah, this is straight from School of Shadow stuff. The stage 3 sow a grain and a veg, get them all off.
Yeah,
I don't think I learned it from Shadow, but I'm sure I learned.
You
it from
indirectly
people who
did,
learned it
probably.
from Shadow. Right.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there. I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea," and then I was like, "I have no food. I've just been wrecked." Like every time I go to take a food action, AJ takes it, Sid takes it. I'm like, "All right." So I play this BMW. What was that?
Did you just take my people off of fencing? Like,
Did I?
I see my purple peep in your hand. When did
because
that happen?
this was when you went out of turn. AJ hadn't played his minor yet.
Oh, okay, that's a good point.
And so I was like, no, you're not on
There was some
yet.
going out of turn going on. I would have had fits at this table. Sid, you've got 3 3 sheep living in that small pasture. You didn't build your room for a whole round. Like, oh my gosh. I'm kind of glad I didn't play this game.
Well, okay, let's
Glad
be
I at
honest.
least could do that for you, Lumen.
Lumen, if you were playing in the game, you'd be focused on your own game, and I don't know. That's what happens to me. I'm like not even looking at my opponent's game sometimes. Like I know what they're trying to do, but I'm not looking at. Like I just know that person has 3 rooms. I'm not looking at the farm to see.
Correct.
If
We
rooms or not.
literally said that at the game because we realized obviously
Yes.
once Sid put his room on his board during round 6, we were all like, oh, everybody watching this has been yelling at us probably. But yeah, everybody at the table, Sid built a room. We all knew it. Like we were all like, yeah, Sid has room. Boom. That's Like, I don't need to look at his board. He has 3 rooms.
Yes. No, it's good for our audience to know that even though it doesn't look like Sid's board is in legal or correct positions, everyone's got it correct in their head. So
Yeah, and I could hold the 3 sheep. I just didn't put one in my house.
yeah, but that's just like being bad and lazy.
That's just. I mean, it's just play Agricola. Like that's like what we do, and so I just do that.
I call people out on Play Agricola for that, or at least when I played on Play Agricola.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It feels how it feels like it depends how bad it is. Like if your sheeps are if you got 6 sheep and they're just on your board, not even near your fences, okay, that's a little suspect.
But in this case, I mean, I just had 3 in a pasture, and the one would be in the house.
Yeah,
I think
I don't have issues with that. I know you got 3 sheep. That's fine. I generally don't have issues with anything. Like you can do as long as it's legal. You can do whatever you want.
So Andrew, if I don't take the 5 food, do you take that? I feel like you're supposed to snap that if I don't take it there, but
What's your
I don't know
round?
what exactly. Last round, I think I took 5 food first action or something.
Round
like that.
8, Sid got 5, and round 9,
Yes.
Sid got 5.
Both rounds, I wanted 5 food. Both
Yeah,
of
yeah.
them.
I mean,
I was like,
so-
I'm gonna take 5 food, and then Sid went, I'm gonna take 5 food.
No, it was interesting because I knew you wanted that, and I knew that if I didn't take that, you would just have a pretty free sow action if you wanted it. I wasn't 100% sure you wanted to sow, but it just seems very free if you take 5 food into gross or so, and then your feeding is pretty sorted for the rest of the game. But if I take that, then I don't have the actions to actually get the crops to sow. It was an interesting dilemma there. But I think taking the food was correct for me. It got me through a very difficult part of the game. So.
I'm also just curious how the food never got taken at 4. It was 5 each time, and it goes to Sid each time.
Well, 4
Yeah.
is not that good. I can take like 3 or 4 food actions whenever I want. Like veg is 3 food action. It's like, eh. Like at this point, the other thing is at this point I have the tenant farmer, I have a hearth, I have a BMW. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Also, I don't know about yet.
kind of mediocre. 5 food is just way better.
Yeah, and I was taking enough wood off the board that I thought if I get really stuck on food, I'll just play I'll play the Turner, and hope that I can just keep taking wood and starve everyone out of the game. Because if you notice my board with a yoke and a cow action, I basically don't need much any more farming actions for the rest of the game other than crops.
Well,
already
that's the
have-
other thing. Like I'm sitting there, like, hey, if I give Sid this 5 food grab, I get to buy a wood grab that he's not taking. I get it instead. And I
Yeah.
just play the tenant farmer. Like at this point in the game, when I'm forced to play BMW in stage 2, I think that the way that I'm just giving you the food and giving myself the wood, I think is probably fine.
Yeah, I think it's win-win for both of us.
That's kind of what I was feeling in the game. And hey, we cruised to a nice tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, I think basically, we're near the end of stage 4, and I think all of us at the table at this point are feeling AJ's decently ahead. Sid is. You basically, I mean, we're about to get there where
So-
USP and hope for grow, and that's maybe your chance.
Yeah, I'm
But-
pretty confident. That was at least 5 points for me. Potentially 6, but probably 5.
But you
And
needed eight,
you're
right?
just talking about net value of difference between getting urgent
So-
growth without room
Yeah.
versus not growth without room in 12.
Yeah. I needed 8, but I wasn't counting that carefully, and I was also I was still hoping AJ would have some wood issues because if you look on his board, he has 1 wood right now, right? Like 1 or 2 wood.
It looks like it should
Like-
be problematic.
Like there was a line there where I felt like if AJ gets sufficiently wood starved and I flip the grow there, I can win. Which is what I went for, and unfortunately neither happened. So, and I think I needed both.
I got one note here in round 11. Ryan did grow first action. That was the plan, getting in the way here of AJ when possible. Andrew, it looks like, has full fence parts, so I think if I'm playing Paranoid Animal Breeder, I probably fence there. But, of course, that doesn't line up nicely at all with the idea to build a room in the first place.
Yeah, I feel like I have to grow. Like I need the actions, but I'm gonna get fence blocked.
Yep. You just have to take risks here. It's a horrible
But
position to be in.
but yeah, I agree. Like I need breaks, and I'm not getting them. I've played dubiously and them trying to take my shots, but yeah, it doesn't come to fruition. But basically, the dream at this point is somehow I'm gonna have actions to fence, and then I'm gonna play my last couple ox, get the quarry down, manage to reno to stone, something like that. This does not happen, but it's the dream.
Yeah, and then
I also realized. Sorry, go ahead. I realized the grow flip was even bigger because my best avenue to points was probably just taking wood for the joinery. Like that's probably just a 2-point action that I take wood away from AJ directly by doing that. So that might have been a slightly bigger flip than I thought even, but not sure. Such as Agricola.
And then AJ, everyone else is saying you seem quite ahead. Are you feeling the same?
As soon as I got this 4 stone with my first action
Yeah.
this round, I'm feeling really good. That's basically a 4-point move, since that I now can, or maybe 5-point move, since I now can reno, and I get an improvement with that as well. So, or a fence with it. So, yeah, that as soon as I got that 4 stone, I was feeling pretty good. Before that, not as good. I could see that with the way that people are already plowing fields, that I would be able to get some fields in. Wood, I could definitely see wood come eventually, and now that I have a Reno, I don't think people are going to fight me for Reno fences as well. So I'm feeling probably at least like 60% at this point that I should win the game. Maybe not that high. Maybe about 50-50 at least. As soon as I get the stone, I'm feeling good. Before that, I was pretty nervous still.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess you
4 stone
don't know
is just
first.
really great for you, and just continues the theme of people not really having time to get in your way.
Well, and a slight
I don't
theme
know.
of the flips are favorable here. Like,
Yeah.
I want a low animal game, and instead it's early sheep. Like, the stone being high is basically best for the person building lots of rooms or who wants renos, whereas, like, in a dream world, I'm somehow running a late quarry in a low stone game. Like, this is Agricola, but yeah, AJ getting late family growth at the end here, too, 13 versus 12. Like, yeah, it helps.
Yeah, I mean, the 4 stone is just so bad for all of us, right? There's no
Right.
reason to really
none
run
of us
stone.
can ever take 4
Right.
stone.
Yeah.
I think the other reason AJ should be pretty confident here is that Ryan's game looks pretty untenable from here. And honestly, I'm not sure, like, I guess Andrew's game doesn't look great here either. You could have some Awk that he doesn't know about, but I think actually he's already seen Grocer and Tutor, right? Which he didn't know about. So I'm not really sure, like, my game looks better than Andrew's at this point, from my perspective here,
Yeah.
I think. And I have a slim shot, so AJ should be pretty confident he's doing pretty well here. If Grow flips here, then he could lose, I guess, if Grow flips in 12 and he doesn't get the wood, but I don't see how else he loses this game from here.
Yeah, I will also admit, AJ, that at this point, based on how you had played, I thought you were miles ahead because I never saw your first pick. Obviously, we haven't talked about this, but you wind up not needing to play head of the family. I assume you have a chief for most of the end game here. Because I can't figure out what else you first pick. I'm like, it's not a Lord of the Manor because you're not playing towards that. Like, I was like,
watch me. It's not an educator. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I was like, he first picked a chief when he saw a reed collector and passed animal breeder because he's unfamiliar. Like, it wasn't quite, but like I thought you had a chief for quite a while.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't even know that Animal Breeder was the second pick at this point, so
Yeah, I mean, none of you do.
neither of us did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that does make sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
All right. Yeah, I think that's enough for the mid game, and then we hit the late game. Sid misses out on the plow sow and takes 2 pigs instead. I will save everyone from the video audio here, which I don't know if I've ever heard Sid more frustrated after something happens in Agricola than this game, round 12.
That flip
You
was
should
so
have heard him in
miserable.
like round 7 and 6.
No, I mean Sid just like went off for like a
There
good
was a
bit here.
tirade.
Yeah.
I thought that our banter in the mid game was quite comical. Once we
Yeah.
I felt like
I was-
there wasn't much talking early in the game, which I was a little disappointed by. I love talking during games.
Well, I was trying to
even
keep
if it's
silent
a
because I
final.
can't help but leak information when I talk. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think talking is too appropriate at the Agricola final, personally, but yeah.
It makes the game more fun, though. I hate
Right,
this.
like
This is my least
I
favorite.
go to
part of the game.
WBC to have fun, and I think like boring games are just not fun. Like you got to make the game fun.
Yeah.
Having,
and Rob
having
Bottomore
like
does the
one
talking
serious
more.
game or 2, if you count the semifinal, I don't think that's too much of a crime. But I guess we're all entitled to our own opinions, so.
Yeah. No, this flip is like always misery. I hate it. Like it's a 50-50 that often just decides the game because if you're playing a tight game against good players, this thing is a 6-point flip, and I get instantly started on, which I know is going to happen because I know there's a liquid manure in his hand. So it's just like full on misery because I either get the grow here and then everything is smooth, or I just die. And I hate this so much.
No,
I hate this more
no
than
restart.
the stage 2 flip, I think.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And it's rough for you because, yes, I also am just assuming AJ's a mile ahead. So I play no defense against AJ from this point out. And in fact, yeah, we'll quickly see round 13. I decide my best path to taking not last is to just instant SP and put Andrew and Sid slightly worse in turn
that
order
was
and hope
so
it helps.
bad. I was sitting there. I'm sitting. So when I start playing at 12, I'm like, I really need to start playing at 13 too. does Ryan ever just crush me here? I'm like, he totally just start player's cord shoot. Like I know it in round 12 when I first action start player, but like, there's just nothing I can do about it. Like
you have to do it too. Yeah,
it's just so bad.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we were all in a slight joint cycle of misery, and we all kind of knew what was happening, and we just all were punching each other. And
yeah. So I don't know if there's like a good way to explain this to intermediate players who might not see it immediately. But yeah, I mean, I agree too that Andrew's best move is to first action start player in 12, go first in 13, and go last in 14. But does anyone feel comfortable explaining why that's the case and how automatic it is?
Since it's my move. So I have 3 people. So I have 2 people off the board. I have no way to really score points here, right? Like if I can take 3 actions to renovate. I can take like 3 actions to play a pottery. I could spend a couple actions to take stables, but all of them are multiple actions for like 2 or 3 points. Alternatively, I can just start player liquid manure, which when I sow is going to give me 3 points because instead of sowing 2 grain to get this, well, actually it's like 2 points here.
Yeah, 2.
Sowing 2 grain to get the 6 grain total is 3 points, but getting the 2 extra for liquid manure is a point. And then getting the extra veggie when I sow my veggie is worth another point. So I start player, which is a 2-point action, which then gives me a 3-point grow action in 13, and then gives me another action to be able to use in 14. So it's like 5 points ish.
Easily.
So it's just a lot of points for me. But then I also know that Ryan wants to start player cord sheaf because that's again a 2-point action for him, which gives him a plow sow in round 14, which is going to be at least 3 points, probably 4 if he takes another grain. Could be 5 if he takes another grain. And so, like, it's so obvious to me here that when I start player, I get a bunch of points, but then I'm going to immediately go last because it's so many points for Ryan to start player cord sheaf.
Right. So to reduce it a little, to if that was too weighty for anyone listening, it's really a matter of counting your endgame points and making sure you're maximizing your points per action at the end. Until it's your last 2 actions, and then you make sure you can get the best sequence of 2 actions.
Yeah, the other reason to do this is just that there's no guarantee, even if you don't do this, there's no guarantee you get start player in 13. Like, people start player pretty aggressively in 13, because plus 1 14 is really strong. I think the one thing you can hope for is that Ryan doesn't have an improvement to play on Renovate and just plays the corn sheaf and then doesn't want to start player. Well, but it's a long shot when he has pottery parts. So, like...
Yeah, the big thing was, I know I have to start player here, no matter what. Like, liquid manure is just so many points, grow so many points. I can take a sow action around 13 if someone does start player before me.
Or you could do it even now, like...
Yeah. Well, I don't want to do it yet, because if I do end up getting start player around 13, I want to be able to start player and not waste an action taking sow.
So do you think that's maybe a mistake because of how automatic it would be for Ryan to start?
Well, at this point, I'm still hoping to get some good breaks and be able to pull off a second or a first.
Okay.
So, I don't personally. I know it's what you're probably supposed to do. I don't like playing for second or third. So at this point, I'm still like, okay, if I can maybe compete with AJ's game. He still has no wood on his farm, So like, I can maybe compete with AJ's game here if I, I'm able to wheel start player around 13.
Okay.
You can say it's a leak. I just don't think playing for second or third is very interesting or fun.
I agree. There's no, and especially it's just whatever you value, right? And I value first.
I also hadn't asked AJ the lumber until just right now, but he has it. So, you could also have hoped I was gonna join the don't give AJ free wood train.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference between you playing lumber or you taking 3 wood, because it denies AJ 6 wood, I believe, which is significant.
Yeah. AJ,
but I ran out lumber. I mean, that's the problem. I had
could have run a corn
plans.
sheaf and not stuff me.
I could have, but it's also worse.
It's clearly worse. I understand.
Yeah, this is clearly the best thing to do.
So AJ, any thoughts during the game about before getting lumber versus after getting lumber? Because it is round 12. You're showing maybe 4 or 5 wood on your board before getting lumber, and there's only 2 wood that's going to accumulate to 3 next round. We're getting into crunch time here for your wood situation.
Yeah, so I was very happy Ryan passed me lumber. I had no other playable minor improvement on my growth that I'm about to do here. So like the fact that Ryan took a growth from me and then gave me lumber was, I think, actually kind of good for me.
Oh, that is I see. Yeah.
But like overall, like it sounds like Ryan doesn't build his wooden room without his intention to play lumber. So it sounds like it's probably coming to me regardless. And yeah, I guess in that other world where he doesn't build a room, I grow 3 rounds in a row. I'm probably sowing a veg in there somewhere and playing herb garden instead. Yeah, and the amount of wood in the game is going to be about the same since he's not spending 5 on a room, and
Sure.
the lumber gave us 6. So I think either way is about right. I'm just looking at all the boards, and I'm seeing that basically everyone has all their fences. Like,
Yep.
it's very hard to imagine a world where I don't get quite a bit of wood in the late game here.
As long as you're like, yeah, I guess I was gonna say as long as you're not letting it pile up and waiting to take it, but you do let it pile
Yeah.
up. You don't wait to take it after that, but
I took a pile of 4, I think, in round 11, which was my second wood take of the great game. Yeah, like that was kind of my rule here, is that 4 wood is good. After that, I was prioritizing plow still, and then 3 woods. Yeah.
I think Ryan is probably still supposed to build a wood room, even if he doesn't get lumber, because there's no avenue to winning without it. So, like, he has food advantage. He has to use it to try and grow a little bit, I think.
I agree. I think I had to try to push grow, but with lumber, basically I saw a route where I take 2 reed stones, I wind up with the 2 stone, 1 stone is for lumber, I have 1 stone left, I later take 2 reed, I ran out, and then the dream was to play quarry, use quarry for a 3 stone action, and run out of stone. I have just the right stone for that. Obviously don't wind up with enough time to get all that done, although I'm close, but...
You know,
I wonder if Ryan should be more trying to plow more fields and trying to get that SP in round 11 to try to get growth without in round 12. I don't know if that's a better line for him.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that works for him because he's too far behind. And maybe nothing works, and it's all like academic. But like,
that's a little of what it felt like around round 9 when I went into a deep think. I'm like, I think everything's bad, but.
Well, I do think that, like, if you just take the tenant farmer, that alone makes your game much, much better.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It allows you to just build in 4.
I made some
It
early...
allows you to just take 2 clay.
I definitely made some early mistakes and draft mistakes, and yeah, I should have done some different things.
Yeah, not going back all the way to the draft, where of course you can change things a little bit. At the point in the game where you were when you built the room, I don't know what else you could do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
yeah.
I also wish that you didn't have the fence here. If you could have at least passed AJ the corn sheaf instead of the lumber there, so that he can't grow the lumber, that would have been really nice. But you wanted a fence, and it was very reasonable. And
Yeah.
another unfortunate like timing issue that broke AJ's way here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it just does just like delaying his growth maybe and waiting to play lumber, or growing and playing it on major, just losing 1 action.
Yeah, so AJ gets that plow sow in 13.
That was disgusting. We had some comments during the game about that. that was so. And like that goes back to the thing in round 12 when I started playing. I'm just like, I know Ryan does not want this plow so at all, but I hope he takes it from AJ.
Yeah, right. Like I think about it, but exactly, like the Plowso just looks
so
so much
bad
worse
for
than
you.
just SP into Plowso.
Right,
It's
it's so bad compared to
But-
just start player and get a plow so that so's like what you probably take a grade here. Like I hope you take a grade here.
Well, he
I
has
don't know that I
corn
have time
sheaf.
for it,
right,
but-
yeah.
I don't think it works, Andrew, if he doesn't get plow back here because he's going to
No,
sow
because he
veggies.
has acreage, right? Like
Oh, you have acreage, right.
I have acreage. I should sow to acreage. I don't know that I actually do take crops, but maybe I do. I think I get blocked. Somebody takes grain unexpectly this round. Oh, AJ, I think
probably
does
take-
again. Or you
I
do?
probably take grain there.
Somebody takes grain that I don't. I thought I was going to get grain back, and I don't, which was also
well, Sid
unfortunate.
is out of 2-point actions, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Sid almost didn't take it and then did, but I don't remember if that was this round or round 14.
Yeah.
I think it's
I'm
definitely
actually-
this round because I definitely want now that this is something that's coming back to my mind. But like I don't get grain this round, although I thought it was going to be my last action.
You awk something. What was in your head?
I'm getting the men kit
Oh
out
shoot!
so that
I
I
really
can
screwed
quarry.
up here.
No, it's
Can we
the
talk about
plotter.
that?
You played a plotter here.
Yeah.
Oh, because I'm still pushing to quarry, which I shouldn't be. I should probably just.
That's probably a mistake. That's just two moves for 2 points, really.
AJ took the grain this round.
I did take it. Andrew, you were going to say something?
Yeah, so I think I really screwed up taking this plow here. Wait, did I take the plow before or yeah? It had to be before Sid's last action. So I think plow is like really wrong by me. It's a 2-point action, but I think that this opens up the door for Sid to just like take veg into sow, like take veg last action round 13, and sow to veg in round 14.
And then you get blocked out.
Yeah, the reason I didn't do that is because I needed to make sure I get the fireplace on Reno.
Yeah.
And like I starved without that. I have really no food for next harvest.
No,
So
it
I needed
makes
to
sense.
do
I'm
some-
just sitting here and I'm watching myself take plow, and I'm looking at Sid's board and I'm like, why am I ever taking plow right now?
Yeah, you should not.
I feel like I have to just sow here. Like, what am I doing?
I think we all were slightly loose in this endgame more than we should have been.
No, I agree.
Oh yeah, I mean once you know that one person's probably just going to win it, it becomes a lot less interesting to play.
Yeah, I think that's kind of once the growth flipped and once some of this happened, we all, at least the three of us, were all like, oh, okay, well. I assume AJ at this point knows he has it 1-2. I don't know exactly when during stage 5 you figure it out, but
I think as the plow cell coming to me, once you started, Ryan.
yeah.
If you don't start there, if you plow sow, I'm in a tough thing because I don't have miners that I can play at this point, and I definitely want. I want to sell my stuff. I definitely want to plow fields. I might have to SP nothing.
Well, that was my read too. That's part of why I start player, because you just always SP Nada with 5
But
actions, or you
it's
should.
a lot worse. It's a lot worse than that though, because you got 6 wood, which is a huge action.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I was
and then I
Okay.
might miss that as well, right?
And
so
then you
would
might, not
definitely
wheel,
get
you
6
might not wheel the wood. Okay,
so
that's true.
Well, he's
yeah,
definitely not really the wood.
that's-
Sid's got joinery.
and so
Yeah.
maybe I get the 4 or something like that. So that's
I would
maybe
take
like a
4.
couple in terms of wood, and then I also lose maybe a couple points in terms of just doing a blank SP action there as well.
Yeah.
So that, I'm down about 4 points in
Like-
that case, right? So
The game you scored 49 AJ or 50?
yeah,
How much did you
49
49.
score? So 8 points looks like a lot, but there are a lot of flips in the late game that can be 6 to 8 points. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
there's a lot of
That's fair.
And like I also that round, I think round 12, I also got 3 stone, which was a perfect number for me as well for lumber and the pottery. Like there are a lot of things that have been breaking my way consistently throughout the game.
yeah. Basically, none of us had the ability to take actions to stop you. Is what happened there. Like we just
Yep.
could not afford it. And like even looking at your board is like, I can do it by losing like 3 points, and then I lose to someone else. That just doesn't feel right. So
Well, you could have taken 4 clay earlier.
that was a mistake. I agree.
That was
I like
probably the biggest gift to me in this game.
Yeah, I
during
think
actual
for
gameplay.
any of us to have a chance, we just had to. Well, when I say we, Sid just had to take the 4 clay.
Well, again, I also have to just take 2 clay in round 1 and hope that it's not late.
Oh, I
game.
agree. Yeah,
Like
I
that's
was
a
also-
huge difference too. And
I
like in
don't- I
hindsight,
didn't-
I
I
definitely
really
was supposed to
didn't-
play that.
I really didn't want to build the pottery because I was much happier building joinery and trying to wood bully. That was before I saw the lumber, right? So
Yeah.
like the 4 clay was something that I really didn't want to have to do, but I
Oh.
think I should have because I was in a good enough position to maybe
I
do it.
remember now why the plow is totally correct, because Sid was always getting grow this round, and so obviously he's not taking veg into sow.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you just have to. Be
Mhm.
I knew I felt like in the game I had a reason, but I was watching it. I'm like, that is crazy. What am I doing? But yeah, now it makes total sense.
So yeah, this round 14, I don't think there's anything super interesting that's happening, because Sid can like force AJ to spend 2 actions on Reno and fence, but otherwise, like Ryan's the only person who can legally fence but needs a wood action first. Like AJ's really just not blocked on anything in this end game.
Also,
so,
if you look at my board, if I don't build the fireplace, I start. So
yes,
like I'm never
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any notes from this end game that we haven't talked about yet?
The only final thing was I was hoping to, like, I could tell obviously these guys put off Reno until the end, but this is where I was hoping to somehow have enough actions to quarry use it Reno, but I don't. I also this is the round where I'm assuming AJ's gonna Reno and play like a chief, and then I just later find out he just crushed the game without his first pick Ock, and I'm like, oh great.
Well, not quite. He played a game plan where his first pick allows him to play that game plan.
Yes.
And that game plan ended up being good. So even not playing Head of the Family was it is just valuable for AJ to have it in his hand this game. And that's actually most of the value Head of the Family is having it in your hand.
Yeah.
Ideally, you just don't play it. But if you do, it's the ultimate insurance. Right? Like,
It's
Oh, yeah,
so accurate, but it's
if
so
Growth
funny
flips
that
in
the first
7
pick a card.
Yeah, if Growth
Yeah.
flips in 7, I mean, AJ wins this game by a mile because we're all scrambling for Growth and he
and
just gets the
precisely
cheat
because he
DQ.
has, yeah, exactly, Head of the Family. If he doesn't have Head of the Family and Grow flips in 7 and he grows in 10 first, that's really painful for him. So definitely made a huge difference that he could just calmly set up his rooms whenever he wanted, set up all of his other game, and like just be very efficient and play Head of the Family if he needed to. But yeah, it's hard to measure that in power stats also because you don't see the value of a card that is best to have in your hand and not actually
Not
play.
on the table. Like, it's so funny. It's so true, but it's so funny to just talk about how the card is best when you don't have to play it, but you're also first picking it. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two best uses of Head of Family. One is like this, just as insurance, and like
Right.
you do the things that you can to try to influence the game. Like the taking that sheep, I think did really help set this chain of events that let me build and grow without anyone getting in my way. Andrew might have been able to otherwise. And then the other really good thing about Head of the Family, playing a 3 family member game and then just getting
Yes.
growth without
Absolutely.
twice.
Yep.
And that's
Really
also
good.
something I'm very comfortable playing with.
That is my
as well.
preferred way of playing Head of the Family when you don't have something that really helps you build. Absolutely. It is wonderful to be able to do a 3-room game where you don't have to worry about the stupid stage 5 flip.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Well, you still have to worry about it, right?
You lose 2
You
actions.
Either
lose points. You lose 2 actions, but you don't have
Oh,
the
you
ceiling
lose-
issue of
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Just-
guess it's true.
you lose 2 actions, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have this issue of I will never hit 5 and that can hurt my ceiling a lot stuff, and you don't have to start players aggressively, so.
I think I actually have a pretty frequent rate of not playing my first pick. I think I did that. I think I did it maybe 1 or 2 other times at the tournament as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this was between the wood and the grain. I think they were not quite equivalent because I had to eat a wood at the end or something. Like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think I take the grain in the end. Like,
You do end up taking the grain, saying something like, "Oh, I'm silly right now. I just take the obvious 2 points instead of calculating
Yeah,
if
yeah,
this
it was-
is 2 points."
I must have already thought I had grain in my head or something like that. I don't know what's going on in my
Yeah.
head, but yeah. I also, it's pretty clear. I don't think either Andrew or I were actually calculating the scores for second.
No.
Neither of us played towards time.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Did we get everyone's final notes here of the end game?
Yeah. From my end, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all good.
All right. Then I guess we just go to the final states here. Ryan gets to remove the 2 mendicant beggars. Andrew played this
Do I
really...
get bonus points from you though? Like I waited for the official timing at least.
No.
Yeah, because Rob made you. I wanted you to remove him.
No, your field in the corner is horrific. Andrew played this
Got
great
him.
veterinarian instead of whatever the other option was. I approve of the vet.
Yeah, I have to play the veterinarian. I gotta give it some love.
Yeah,
it's underrated.
Did you make Rob give you the bag with the animal cubes?
No, but I should have. He probably would have done it.
If I was in Rob's shoes and got asked that, I would say, yeah, you can have it at the start of next round.
I will say, like, looking back at this game,
15 maybe.
there's so few mistakes. Like, you can argue about a few moves here and there, but I feel like any of us made, like, any egregious mistakes. Things broke a bit kindly for
Well,
AJ, but
I
he
don't
played a
know.
really good game, too.
I feel like the 4 clay was pretty huge.
I think I just lose to you if I take 4 clay is the problem. Like, you're a really big threat at that point with the grocer down. And it's just not good for my game. Like, it doesn't give me... Andrew left.
Sid took really good actions. Like I mean I agree. I guess it depends on what we want to quibble is like a big mistake or moderate mistakes or minor mistakes. There's stuff I want back. I think there's stuff a decent number of us want back. But like there was a lot of tough moments. There was a lot of high level play going on here, and the draft and the game broke reasonably favorably for AJ, and he made very sharp moves, including that SP into the sheep in order to lock down the win. I I made a couple things and had a tough draft spot, and I got a deserved fourth. You two both played very solidly and tied about as close as you can tie. So
Yeah. So the other thing about the 4 clay, by the way, is pottery is just really not good for me if I'm looking at this game.
Well,
I know I need a fireplace eventually, and I know I need renovate to win this game, which means I'm spending a clay action to play. I'd much rather build joinery, right? And I have the stone basically for joinery plus well. I'm not excited about building the pottery here. I should probably take the 4 clay just to slow down AJ, but it just helps you more than me to take the 4 clay there.
Well, can't you take the 4 clay? Because when you at the time you still had the 6 stones, so you could just reno well and then reno again, right?
Yes, but then I have to take 4 clay does nothing for me for a while, is what I'm thinking, and the plow also probably does nothing for me. I think the reason is that the plow.
Your plow didn't do anything the entire game.
Yeah, the plow is pretty uncontested, so I probably should have taken it later. But plows can get pretty contested, and I hadn't seen anyone else with plow help except you with the moldboard, but you also have to go on the plow 1 spot, so we're competing there. I really don't like the negative tempo on not taking a plow at some point, getting the plow from the crooked out of the way. And I think that's probably what my thought process was there, but I do think I could consider taking the 4 clay, because if I take the 4 clay and I flip the grow, I probably win this game. By slowing AJ down.
My thought was if you're trying to win the game, it feels like you have to 4 clay.
But I think I can I haven't seen lumber yet, and I think I can wood bully AJ to have a bad enough score that I can still win the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I admit at that point in the game, in hindsight, we all know AJ won, and we partly know it's because he got freaking 6 clay, 3 reed, and that he got the right endgame breaks. But in real time, I agree. I'm not totally sure. AJ's spot was good, but it wasn't totally clear to me that...
as AJ said, I think he only foreshore won when he got Plow 13, which is quite a way down.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, yes, I wish I'd taken the 4 clay, but I'm not sure it's necessarily analysis that I need to be doing there. Because honestly, Andrew, your game is really scary at that point too. That grocer is very strong there. And
that grocer was dookie.
It was terrible, but you never got food, and that's not clear to me that you won't get food.
Yeah,
it was probably one of the worst groceries I've ever played.
A terrible grocer, because you even ate one of the wrong veg or something from that. It was just not good.
It was bad.
Yeah.
All right, I think I need to pull us into a wrap-up phase here as we're approaching 2 hours on this video. The final scores: 49 for AJ, 41 for Andrew, 41 for Sid, and 37 for Ryan. The tiebreakers between Andrew and Sid, I'll give the recap here. First tiebreaker, neither of them were in the 4th seat. Next tiebreaker, most remaining food. They both had 1 remaining food. There was a point while watching the replay, I thought Andrew might have messed up the tenant farmer timing and stuff, but there was a capacity issue preventing Andrew from prematurely eating a cow or something like that. So they both ended with 1 extra food. Next tiebreaker, neither of them had begging cards. Tiebreaker after that was fewest negative categories. They both had 1 negative category of empty spaces. And then the next tiebreaker was most maxed categories. Andrew had 3, while Sid had 2. And that gave Andrew 2nd place.
For what it's worth, I don't think the negative space is a category. I think the category is
unused spaces is a scoring category. I mean, so Andrew, if you want to debate Lord of the Manor type rulings, those cards say maximum score of which the maximum is 4 points or something like that.
Oh, I just thought that when Rob was talking about it, that's what he said, but I don't remember.
Either way, you had the same single negative category.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the final. AJ, congratulations on winning the Agricola Shield. As pretty much everyone says, this is possibly the toughest shield to win at WBC.
Thank you. Just had all the breaks go my way that game.
I mean, you obviously have to be extremely skilled to be able to take advantage of those breaks properly, though, and you did, so.
Yep.
Agreed. You have to, at a table this strong, you have to have breaks go your way, right? It just is necessary. And
yeah, most people at the tournament would not have won this game with your hand, so.
Yes, I think that's exactly correct. I think there might be an argument that any of us in his seat possibly win, but again, that doesn't really matter. He played it incredibly well, and there's a lot of people that would not have been able to pilot it to a win from here. And so you need a lot of skill and you need good breaks to win these tables, and AJ got it. So kudos, man. It's a very tough field.
Yeah. And you've been hunting for this for a while, so well done.
Yeah, it's a big thing I was missing at WBC. Yeah.
You have everything else. So
For real.
I kind of want you to share that photo of your wall that you put on your Instagram, AJ.
Okay.
Because your number of plaques was it's cool, but also
Do you
crazy.
have space for all of them?
Well, that was his new problem. That was what the post was. Where does he start putting them next?
I have like 10, and I just leave them on the floor in the corner of my room because I'm like, I don't know.
well, I'm 2 for 2, I guess. I've only done 2 tournaments and blocked in both of those.
Hey, you played in Mars. You just didn't feel like playing the quarterfinals.
True.
It was insufferable. So
Sid dropped this year's Mars tournament.
It was so boring.
My team thanks you.
Man, I should have. Your team needs to thank me, Ryan.
Okay, we're not here to talk about Mars.
Congrats to AJ. Congrats to you guys. Thanks all for doing this.
Yeah,
Congrats to Lumen too. You did take 5th. This is the top 5.
We're number 5. We're number 5.
We're number 5. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this and helping to moderate. Hopefully, people out there find it useful.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're all signing off. So thanks all for watching. Hope you found this an entertaining video to watch and possibly informational as well. Yeah, I don't know about staying tuned for more WBC content from my channel, but this is probably a one-off thing.
Well, maybe in 1 year.
Possibly one a
For
year.
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1.
All right.
Anyways, this was really fun. Thanks for doing this. Bye.
Sure. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.